Yeah, the whole league was hammered. Yo ho ho, Dom Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. And I'm not sure about you guys, but that was the weirdest week one I think that I have ever experienced in my entire 31 years of watching football. I mean, literally, some of the strangest things on the face of the planet occurred that is really making it hard to argue against that this entire league is scripted. Perhaps it was a bit of an over-exaggeration, but you got to admit, whether or not that you just want to start off by saying that a kicker just can't easily make a 15-yard extra point, maybe a field goal, or whether or not that a quarterback that literally has just been a journeyman throughout the entire league beats a top 5 quarterback in Russell Wilson by the name of Geno Smith. A lot of shit happened, okay? And if you're a betting man, you probably lost a lot of money. And if you're a fantasy team owner, you're probably extremely pissed off. And so, but in today's episode, we're literally going to go through, I would say, really all the games that just surprised me. And in most weeks, you would say, hey, okay, cool, this is probably just going to be like 1 or 2 games. No. I literally would say that there was maybe 3 games that turned out the exact same way that I thought that they would. Everything else was a cluster. Starting off, Bills versus Rams, right? Super Bowl champions. I mean, you thought that they would at least put up a damn fight, but Josh Allen literally whipped out his gigantic dick and completely embarrassed the city of Los Angeles. Now, right as a Bills fan, really wasn't that much of a surprise. I just wanted one more opportunity to go on ahead and gloat, okay? The rest of the world thought that LA would win. Reigning Super Bowl champions. Didn't happen. I would say the biggest surprise was the fact that Stephon Diggs absolutely made Jalen Ramsey his little boy. Literally going into that game, I thought that Diggs would have been maybe targeted 3 or 4 times, but no, he absolutely ate. And the Buffalo Bills offense looks absolutely scary. I literally pity the fool that has to go up against that offense and defense, rather, throughout the rest of the year. Next up was the Niners and the Bears game. I mean, honestly, there was nothing surprising about this, but I just wanted an opportunity to bitch. Right? I mean, I was sitting in the Nashville airport and I was at this bar that somehow didn't have the NFL package. And this was the only sorry excuse of a game that I could have watched. Like, I'm literally about to say that I would have much rather this game just been 3-3 for the entire 4 quarters. Whether it was the weather, whether it was Trey Lance just trying to get his bearings with Justin Fields to actually play reasonable football. I literally wanted to gouge my eyeballs out. Literally. But the Chicago Bears ended up winning 19-10, and this is probably the first time in a long time where you see them above the Green Bay Packers, which we will get to here shortly. Next up, the Steelers and the Bengals. Can anybody kick the football? Okay, once again, I was sitting there watching this game, and I thought this game was over at least 15 times. All right, this was a long, excruciating game. Super exciting. There was a couple of telling facts. Number one, the Bengals just are rolling the dice with the life of Joe Burrow. I mean, honestly, they've been sitting there trying to flex that their offensive line has gotten better, and it blows my mind that this team had an offensive line worse than this year and made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's life is in absolute danger. The Steelers were abusing this man, but he did everything he possibly could. With Jamar Chase had a hell of a game going into it, but that Steelers defensive line and Steelers defense in general seems to be that they're going to make them a competitor in that division. Although everybody was counting them out, saying that they were going to finish in last place this year since Big Ben decided to go on ahead and retire. Doesn't help that TJ Watt ripped his titty at the end of the game, but I still feel like their defense is going to be scrolling through. Next up, we got the Dolphins and the Pats. This really wasn't much of a surprise, but the Dolphins ended up convincingly beating the Patriots 20-7. The Patriots, for the first time in a very long time, are terrible, and that is music to my ears. But Dolphins, get ready. Browns and the Panthers. Literally the Browns and the Panthers, right? I mean, this entire week, everyone was hyping it up. Baker Mayfield allegedly said that he was ready to kick their ass last thing that he did whatsoever. It's funny because the Carolina Panthers currently have the 1st and 3rd overall pick from a draft class, on that QB roster, and both of them cannot do a thing with that Carolina offense. Really. It was absolutely insane. Now, let me tell you what, there were a couple of plays toward the end of the game, like that absolute phantom roughing the passer that occurred on Jacoby Brissett, where the Panthers probably should have ended up rolling through to the victory by itself, but it just seemed like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were just way too much to stop, and so Baker Mayfield just didn't end up having it in him to go on ahead and get his revenge. I had a lot of hope for the Panthers this year, but, I mean, unless Baker can go on ahead and really turn it around, it's going to be a long season for that poor team. Colts and the Texans, a tie. An absolute tie. Now, say that it wasn't enough to say for the fact that Matt Ryan is like their 37th quarterback in the past 6 years. This was not the Colts team that I was hyping up throughout the beginning of the season. You're sitting there, you're tying with the Houston Texans. Maybe it's just week one. Maybe they're just absolutely hyped. They're just getting sick of saying that they're going to finish with the top 3, top 5 draft pick next year. But that game was also brutal to watch, 110%. I mean, I see the Colts still winning that division. Might have been a bad start. They historically always have a very rough first couple of games in every single season. I mean, a couple of years ago, they lost to the Jags their very first game, and then afterwards, the Jags literally lost every single game afterwards. So, not necessarily running around and pulling my hair out and thinking that the sky is falling at this point, but that tie was just something else. The New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this was normal because we have the Atlanta Falcons once again blowing a lead. Okay? Like, I mean, honestly, I think that they just need to go on ahead and they just need to change their mascot into a damn street whore, because nobody blows better than the Atlanta Falcons when it comes to a lead. This was crazy. I mean, I absolutely love seeing Jameis Winston. He's one of the most entertaining quarterbacks. I wouldn't necessarily say play. In fact, I would say play. Very talented, but literally just hearing this man's interviews brings a smile to my face. I hope he never retires. I hope he pulls a Tom Brady. But Saints pull off a close one, 27-26. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this new-look Vikings offense does look scary. I'm not going to lie to you. Justin Jefferson clearly was a solid addition to that team after they traded off Stephon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills. But I got a bone to pick with Aaron Rodgers, right? Maybe he bit himself in the ass by saying that he's owned the NFC North just a couple of days prior to that game, or maybe he took one too many shroomies before that game, because he did not look like the Aaron Rodgers of late. Yes, Allen Lazard was out. Yes, they had that rookie wide receiver literally drop a perfect dime piece right through the breadbasket that most likely would have changed the momentum of that game going into it. But absolute surprise. Once again, I wouldn't say that the sky is falling for the Packers. I'm still seeing them turning it around, and I'm still seeing them winning that division. The New York Football Giants pull off an absolute upset against the Tennessee Titans. Now, not many people saw this coming just based off of name notoriety. The Titans have been a very solid team for the past couple of years. But now when your number one receiver is Robert Woods, and literally every single play in your offense needs to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry to even be somewhat relevant this year, the Giants took advantage of that. Seems like Saquon Barkley is back. As long as he plays this entire season, I could see this team being 500, maybe a little above. Shout out to Brian Daboll as the former offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Always love seeing that guy succeed, but wild finish. The ball's on Daboll. The ball's on Daboll going for 2. That's what I like to see, babe. And so the Raiders-Chargers games and the Chiefs and Cardinals game, I'm really not going to say much on that because we kind of saw that coming. At least I did for the most part. But the Buccaneers and the Cowboys, yes, I saw the Buccaneers winning, but the Cowboys literally make me want to rip my hair out, and I'm not even a Cowboys fan at this point. When you look at that team and you see Micah Parsons on that team, like, I would literally compare that to owning a Bugatti, but then your home is a cardboard box on the side of an alleyway in downtown Dallas. Okay, literally, that team is completely fallen apart. I have no idea what Jerry Jones is doing with that organization. Dak Prescott, once again, is injured for the 75th time of his career, and now all they have is Cooper Rush, right? Literally, you pay Dak Prescott a lot of money to barely play, and you don't even have an insurance policy. And so if they don't call San Francisco for Garoppolo literally by like the next day, I will be convinced that somebody watching this video would do a better job at maintaining and running that organization. But so the Buccaneers look fine. Looks like Julio Jones was an awesome addition right to that offense, and we'll just see. And then last but not least, the Seahawks and the Broncos. Russell Wilson literally starting his first game back at the old stadium, in which he told the off he's going to Denver to make a little bit more money and somebody that's going to work him a bit more. But no, sir. No, sir. We have Geno Smith going out there and literally having the game of his damn career and pulling off an upset right against. Now, this game was a defensive battle, not going to lie to you, especially when you had the Denver Broncos defensive line stopping 2 goal line attempts. That would have made this game a lot more high scoring, but Geno Smith came out there literally just hanging his balls out there. Hanging his balls and just going on ahead. And then Russ drops an easy one, 0-1. And to be honest with you, the division that the Broncos are in this year, they need to win literally every single game that is outside of their division based off of how competitive the AFC West is. Russ did not do himself any favors, and we're going to have to see how that all kind of plays out. Well, Dumb Mafia, thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of NFL Week Recap. If you're new here, just do me a favor, subscribe to this channel. I'm mostly a Buffalo Bills YouTuber, but I put NFL content out all the time. Smash the out of that like button, and before I let you go, you better always remember, let's go Buffalo.